Big money moves get attention. Quiet habits do the work. That difference explains why so many people stay financially busy and financially stuck. Big moves look impressive. Timing the market, buying the bottom, selling the top, starting the perfect side hustle, making one bold decision that changes everything. Those stories spread fast. Quiet habits don't. There's nothing exciting to show. No screenshots, no announcements, no moment of genius, just repetition. And repetition is boring, but boring is where money actually grows. Most people misunderstand how wealth is built. They think it comes from moments, from bold action, from doing something dramatic at exactly the right time. In reality, wealth is built from defaults. What happens automatically? What happens when you're tired? When you're distracted? When you're not thinking about money at all? That's where quiet habits live, and that's why they matter more than big moves. Here's the biggest misconception. Big money moves don't create wealth. They amplify what already exists. If your habits are weak, big moves magnify mistakes. If your habits are strong, you don't need big moves. Quiet habits compound without drama. Big moves demand perfect timing. Timing is fragile. Habits are durable. That's the trade most people miss. Quiet habits don't feel productive. They don't feel impressive. They don't feel urgent. They feel forgettable. And that's the point. The first quiet habit that beats almost everything else is consistency. Not intensity, not motivation. Consistency. Small amounts invested regularly beat large amounts invested emotionally. Why? Because consistency removes decisions. You don't ask, "Is now a good time?" You already decided. Big moves invite second guessing. Quiet habits remove it. The second habit is automation. Automation isn't about convenience. It's about removing willpower. Willpower works when life is calm. Life is rarely calm. Quiet systems work when life is noisy. When money moves before you touch it, progress happens without debate. No mood, no confidence, no discipline required. Big moves rely on your best self showing up. Quiet habits work even when your worst self does. That's why they win. Another quiet habit most people struggle with: not touching what's working. This sounds obvious, almost insulting, yet most people can't do it. When something feels boring, they interfere. They tweak, adjust, improve. They confuse activity with progress. But compounding needs stillness. The less you touch a good system, the better it performs. Big moves feel like progress because you're doing something. Quiet habits feel uncomfortable because nothing seems to happen. Until time passes, then the gap shows. Another habit that matters more than big moves: separation. Separating money by purpose. Spending separate from saving. Saving separate from investing. Safety separate from growth. When money is mixed, every decision feels risky. When money is separated, decisions become mechanical. Big moves usually happen when everything is mixed together. Emotion leaks into logic. Quiet habits create boundaries. Boundaries reduce anxiety. Reduced anxiety improves behavior automatically. That's not mindset. That's structure. Here's another quiet habit people underestimate: ignoring noise. Most people think staying informed makes them smart. In reality, constant information creates reactivity. Markets move. Headlines shout. Opinions clash. Big moves are often reactions to noise. Quiet habits are built to ignore it. If your plan changes every time the news does, you don't have a plan. You have a mood tracker. Wealth doesn't require knowing everything. It requires commitment to very little. Quiet investors know what not to pay attention to. That skill is more valuable than finding the next opportunity. Another habit that works quietly: buffers. Buffers aren't exciting. They don't earn returns. They don't feel productive. But buffers change behavior. When you have margin, you stop rushing decisions. When you stop rushing, you stop making mistakes. Big moves often come from pressure. Pressure creates urgency. Urgency creates bad timing. Quiet habits remove pressure. They give you room to wait. Not waiting to act, waiting to avoid acting badly. Another quiet habit: keeping money boring. No constant checking, no daily updates, no emotional tracking. The more attention money demands, the harder it is to behave well. Big moves demand attention. Quiet habits fade into the background. That's why they last. This is also why smart people struggle here. Smart people like engagement. They want to understand, optimize, improve. So they keep touching the system. They think they're helping. They're often resetting compounding. Wealth doesn't reward cleverness. It rewards endurance. Endurance requires boredom tolerance. That's the hidden skill. The ability to let something work without supervising it. Big moves make you feel smart. Quiet habits make you wealthy. But no one applauds them. No one notices them early. That's why they're rare. Here's another hard truth. If your financial life requires frequent decisions, it will eventually fail. Not because you're careless, because decision fatigue is real. Quiet habits reduce decisions to zero. Zero decision systems outperform high discipline ones every time. Big moves rely on moments of clarity. Quiet habits rely on default behavior. Defaults beat moments. Always. Over time, quiet habits do something powerful. They change identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's trying with money. You become someone whose money just behaves. That identity shift is subtle. But once it happens, backsliding becomes harder. Not because you're stronger, because the system doesn't allow it easily. Big moves create spikes. Spikes fade. Habits stick. This is why most overnight success stories disappear, and most quiet wealth stories last decades. Quiet habits aren't slow. They're invisible. What's slow is restarting, reacting, undoing mistakes. Quiet habits avoid all of that. They don't maximize speed. They minimize damage. And minimizing damage is the fastest path over time. So if you feel behind, ask yourself this: am I chasing moments or building defaults? Moments feel exciting. Defaults feel dull. But dull is dependable. Dull shows up every month. Dull compounds. Dull survives bad years. Big money moves might change a year. Quiet habits change decades. And decades are where wealth actually lives. That's why the people who end up wealthy rarely talk about how they got there. There's nothing dramatic to say. They didn't time it perfectly. They didn't outsmart everyone. They just built habits that worked quietly in the background, while everyone else watched the big moves. Big money moves get attention. Quiet habits do the work. And if you're willing to be bored long enough, they'll do the work for you too.